I used to own a small grocery store in front of one of the markets. There was a very honest young man working for me, and I relied on him to manage the store. He was very successful in his work, his dealings, and his manner with customers. I was pleased with his work and dedication. I would often leave him alone in the store for hours with the cash register without feeling any fear or concern about him at all. I noticed an improvement in the store, in sales and purchases, and I was very content with this. One day, my brother came to me and asked if I could allow his son to work in my store. I thought to myself, I won't lose anything, and after all, he's my nephew and needs the job, so why not? So, I agreed and asked him to come the next morning. The next morning, my nephew arrived, and I divided the work between him and the old worker. After a week, I was surprised when my nephew told me that the worker was secretly taking money from the register and putting it in his pocket. I couldn't believe what my nephew said and told him not to speak about the worker in this way again, as I knew the worker well. A few days later, my nephew repeated the accusation, telling me that the worker was still stealing money from the register, putting it in his pocket, and then leaving for half an hour before returning. I decided to see for myself. I entered the store, asked the worker to fetch something from the other shop, and then hid behind some sacks where he couldn't see me. After about 15 minutes, I saw him taking money from the register, looking around nervously, and then putting it in his pocket. I was shocked and felt sad and disappointed. However, what surprised me even more was that the store was thriving despite his theft. A few minutes later, my nephew asked the worker to stay in the store and cover for him while he left, and the worker agreed. I then came out of my hiding place and followed the worker from a distance as he left the store. I watched as he entered the market, bought some food, bread, and milk, and then continued on his way. I followed him until we were outside the area, and then he stopped in front of a dilapidated house. He knocked on the door, and a woman appeared with 5 children behind her. He gave her the food, and she raised her hands to the sky, praying. I couldn't hold back my tears. I was overwhelmed by the situation. The worker was stealing money to feed a widow and her orphaned children.